warm welcome to a pod full of Saints on Wednesday, the 26th of October, 2022. If we knew what was going on, we'd hear what episode this is of a season, but none of us have got a clue. None of us being Jake Ellacott, shaking his head over there.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone.
And hello, Lee Wood, as you mentioned there.
Dave, you're a details man. Come on, buddy. Get with the programme. Come on.
I've got a clue. Not a clue. Right, 2 games to look back on. 1 point. Well, nobby out time, isn't it? Saturday, Dartford. I thought the first half, they looked the best side we've played this season, until last night, of course. And we did well to come back from behind and get a point. Does that sound reasonable? Anyone?
Yes. But I'd like to put the focus on us, if I may, because I thought we were really good for vast majorities of that game. It was, I tell you how good it was, Tabs. You know, the people around us, normally if the football getting served up is pretty dross, they go off piste, you know, they start talking about all sorts of nonsense. The focus was very much on the football for, you know, the majority of the game. And even though there were spells when we were on the back foot, but we held firm, mate, and we continued to play football. And the crowd were getting really, really involved and invested in the game. And it's just fascinating how technically they are the same players that Ian had at his disposal for much of this season up to the date. But even so, I thought they were superb. To a man, they were superb. They were just passionate about the game. They were invested in it. And in turn, the fans then get invested in it. And to be honest with you, mate, I don't think we could have nicked it. I'm not saying that Dartford aren't a good side, but by God, mate, that was a much improved performance from us all around the park.
Yeah, I thought the first half in particular was good. The second half did go flat. They probably had most of the play in that time. We didn't create an awful lot. Neither did they. Just cancelled each other out. So its first half was by far the better one.
Yeah.
And to come back from them, they're third in the table. They won 6 in the trot. We come back from an early goal down. It all bodes well. What you say there is true, because we were pushing on much more we'd done earlier in the season. And it was enjoyable. And even you, Jake, jet lagged from getting back from Amsterdam the night before. You enjoy it?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last week, didn't we? I thought it was important that at that home game, we knew it was going to be difficult, but I thought it was important that they played some good football to entertain a good crowd and get people wanting to come back to Clarence Park with Nobby in charge to enjoy the games, because a lot of this season at Clarence Park, the football has been almost dreadful, hasn't it? And that first half really was, I thought, really entertaining. I thought we were unlucky maybe not to take the lead, but the way we responded to going behind was really positive. Great finish from Shaun. All of a sudden, he looks a bit like the old Shaun again, doesn't he? You have to wonder why that is. Is it just because he's a bit more freed? Is it because the players around him are a bit more free and getting the ball to him? But it was a superb finish. And yeah, second half wasn't amazing. But I thought we looked fairly comfortably defensively wise against a good team that were top of the form table at the time. And interestingly, Dartford fans on their forum after the game, a lot of them came away quite happy with a point, because quite a few of them said one of the best teams we've played this season, the Saints. So I think it was a really positive afternoon. It might not have been 3 points, but I thought it was, again, to pick up a point against a decent side. Very happy with that.
We went into it on the back of that 3-0 win at Welling United a week before, when Ricardo Di Trolio made his starting league debut. Nobby decided not to play him against Dartford. Bring back Callum Adebayo, who's a lot more experienced as well. Did you think that was a simple decision, or could he have stuck with Ricardo?
I think we spoke about this, didn't we, last time? I don't think you could criticise the swap simply because Dartford are a far better outfit than anything that Petrolio has faced. Picking up on a couple of things there, what Jake said, I wouldn't say we were comfortable in defence, because they caused us a whole load of trouble, especially in the first half. Once they got to grips with the system in the middle of the park, they were looking for that channel ball quicker. What I would say, touching on Shaun, I think he's now playing with the confidence of the man he was last season. But also, I think all of the team are playing with that confidence now. And I don't know whether they've just thought, sod it, look, we want David Noble as our boss. We can't get him the sack as well. So we better start, backing up our ideas. But also, this might be a testament to Nobby, giving them a little bit more freedom to play football. They're not bad footballers at all by any stretch, as is proven. But I think they've now got the self-belief, and Nobby's now given them the platform to go and express themselves. And I think Saturday was the first showings about what this team can do as a collective.
I think we saw on Saturday how frustrated Dartford came. They sent on Alec Wall and Kieran Murtagh. Not two smallest players in the world, two great big lumps, if you like. Chuck them up front. So their intentions were clear. So they were getting a bit concerned they weren't going to win that game. Of course, they didn't in the end, which, again, is maybe a tribute to the way we played.
Absolutely. I think we didn't shy away from them, did we? Especially first half. And I think it shows, going up against a team that can bring on resources like that off the bench compared to our bench recently. I think it shows the depth and the investment. But I think it is a real testament to Noble, I think to John Meeks as well, and the management team, the job they're doing, and also the players. I don't think any of them, I think they've all stepped up and they've all shown how much I think they've enjoyed playing under Nobby and how much it means to them. I think, like Lee says, I think the players want to stick with Nobby, I think. And you can see why, because the style of football is just really positive and generally pretty enjoyable at the minute. And that is what we go to football for. I want to be entertained. I go there on a Saturday to away from work, away from life, enjoy it. And Saturday was
away from the
enjoyable.
girlfriend.
No, don't say that.
Away from life, as if he's got one, Lee.
Oh, God.
You said it, mate, not me.
Tribute to Michael Johnson as well. First half, he made 2 or 3 terrific saves.
Yeah.
And that record was 13 league games, never conceding more than 1 goal in those 13 games. I know we paid tribute to the defence before this season, but again, they laid the foundation for that point last week.
Absolutely. But I think credit where it's due as well. They've sort of got a real cohesion now. And even when players have been coming in the back line, they've just fitted in effortlessly. And it's been a real pleasure, simply because we're not concerned about how many goals we're going to concede now. It's more about how many we're going to score. And it's flipped on its head in such a short space of time. The defence has taken care of itself. You've got, without doubt, one of the best goalkeepers in the entire division. You've got a couple of, stalwart centre-halves now, and energetic, adventurous, exciting to watch wingers, fullbacks. So, that is a good foundation. Drake, you spoke there, mate, about investment. Given the recent uptake in form, are you still looking for us to sort of invest now, or are they going to wait until maybe Nobby's permanently named as the manager, or they get someone else in? Because given the fact that we've played Dartford and Ebbsfleet now in a space of 4 days, I think it's quite evident that we're still way behind that element. However, we have matched them for character, heart, endeavour, but you can't shy away from the fact that a little bit of investment could go a long, long way.
I think that's spot on. I think the squad is still lacking somewhat. I think there's definitely some areas. We do have players coming back from injury, but then we've got some picking up injuries, which we'll mention in a bit. So it is, but I think, like you said, I think that the club as a whole almost feels like we're waiting now, aren't we, to see what the management situation is. Is he going to stay on as interim manager, even if they announce it for 3-4 months, end of the season? I think the squad does need something, but then we've been saying this for a long time, haven't we? So I think there's still areas that need it. But I think, Nobby and John are doing a good job with the resources they've got in a minute.
It's interesting, as well, though, that he has actually finally come out and said that he could be interested in the job, because up until that point on Saturday, no one really knew what his stance was, but now he's come out and said, I am interested. And I think he's growing into the role as well a little bit, Tabs. You've probably sort of spoken to him and his family around the ground on Saturday. Do you get the feeling that he's sort of coming around to the way of maybe taking up the job full time, or is it still very much in the hands of the owners?
Do you know, I haven't spoken to Nobby since he replaced Ian Lee, so not got a clue what he's thinking. But as you mentioned there, I believe he
Good
has
chat.
said he's interested in the job now. So he will take it as that and see what happens. Do we want to touch on that now? Because you would have thought the club have had the interviews, what, 2.5 weeks ago now it was started. If they had pinpointed somebody, they would have given them a job by now, because that person, I can't wait around forever. I've got to get a job. So they would have gone off somewhere else by now. So you think there's not somebody lined up. Are they waiting for somebody they've got an eye on? Don't know. And the longer it goes on, the longer you think nobody's going to have it, whether it's interim for months or rest of the season, whatever. They seem quite happy to let him carry on with it as it is, as long as results are going okay. Because let's face it, going into last night's game, we were 8th in the table. We come out of nowhere, just one place outside the playoffs. It means nothing after 13 games, of course. Now, on the you mentioned it, we're less worried about how many goals we concede now, Lee, because we're more interested in how many we score. The last 6 league games, we've still only once in that time scored more than one league goal. So we've still got to get that right, haven't we? We're looking a lot better. We're creating more chances. Sean's looking a different player again. Joe Neal's looking a lot sharper. Happy birthday for him last Saturday as well, 22. Nobby let him go and celebrate his birthday early by taking him off with a bit of time to spare. So we've still got to get that end of the pitch dead right, haven't we? But you look at the next 5 games, and there really is a chance then, you think, for us to start knocking in a few goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about stepping stones in the attack, isn't it? And we are getting there now. We're starting to create chances, which we really weren't under Ian by the end, were we? It was really struggling. But yeah, on Nobby, I think, now we've got another 2 games coming up, haven't we, in quick succession? Saturday, Tuesday, he's probably going to be in charge for those. And then it just extends, doesn't it? I think the only thing I would like is I'd like an update from the club just to give fans a bit of an idea as to what is going on.
Steady on, mate.
Like
Ellacott.
Like David says, it's been, 2.5 weeks now. It'd just be nice to hear, even if it is a small update, just so fans know what's going on. Because, Nobby's building quite a rapport with supporters now at home and away games, doing well. And whatever the update is, I think fans would appreciate a bit of clarity.
Right, let's move on to last night. He lost. Nobby's first defeat. Ebbsfleet United, by far the best side we've seen so far this season. Jake, I'm sure you'll agree. Second half, they went off a boil, but we'll come to that in a minute. It was such a bizarre second half. The first half, they were quick. They looked really fit. Their passing was good. 1-0 down, 24 minutes, 2 down within half an hour. Didn't it feel like, here we go again, 5-0 last season?
Well, it was an improvement on the start of last year's game. I'm glad we were, 3-0 in 17 minutes. So we had a bit of brief hope there. And we had a couple of half attacks in the opening 10 minutes. But yeah, Ebbsfleet started to dominate. And look at the names in that team and the experience they've got, championship quality players at times, or at least have played in the championship. It's hard to compete with. They're pretty much full-time training, I believe. And I thought you could really tell in just the sharpness of their play and how quickly they almost won every second ball, didn't they? But to be fair, Nobby in his post-match was very disappointed with some of the performances, and I think the 25-minute spell where we conceded those 3 goals. And he was very honest, and I really did appreciate that. I think even though Ebbsfleet are a good team, I don't think we were quite up to the level that he wanted. And it was good to see him be honest about that, even though it was against a very tough team. And like you say, Dave, at 2-0 and with Michael Johnson going off, I was like, oh no, this could be 7 or 8. So as you say, second half we'll mention, but yeah, first half, Ebbsfleet very good, and us just not quite up to it where we wanted to be.
It was terrifying, wasn't it, really? On 42 minutes when Michael Johnson got that finger injury, off to hospital with a dislocated finger. You look to the bench, we haven't got Larice there, Martin, he wasn't there. Apparently he's injured as well, a second choice goalkeeper. So we turn to Huw Dawson, who's got quite a pedigree in goal. It's got to be said, doesn't it? He played for Harvester North at under 15 3 years ago in goal. So, we couldn't have got a better man for the situation. And he had what? 1, 2 shots to save? There weren't many, were there?
No, he had 1 goal fly past him, which I don't think he could have done much about. And then after that, yeah, not much else. And, I thought he did well. He didn't have much to do. one thing is his distribution was pretty good. Funny that being a midfielder in goal. But fair play to Huw. You know, he's a young lad still to step up like that and go in goal. I think there's a lot of players that would have shied away from it. So fair play to him. And as you say, it's a real shame to lose Johnson like that. It was a very innocuous, looked like a very innocuous sort of situation, didn't it, Dave? Ball came in, he dropped it at a corner. Luckily, he claimed it. Referee blew for a foul. Couldn't really see from our end. But straight away, he was like, no, I can't play on. So, yeah, hopefully he's not out for long, but it's a bit of a headache all of a sudden, isn't it?
That's incredible. Just come out of nowhere. Just like the Dulwich one last season when he got injured. It looked totally innocuous. But off he goes and we don't see him again for a few games. Hopefully he recovers quickly this time because certainly need him. Of course, 2 minutes later, then we get Michael Clark dislocate his shoulder. They were falling like ninepins. You really did feel like our world was caving in again, didn't it? But we shook it off. Huw Dawson's a good idea putting him in goal because it means he can only kick the ball forward. And the second half, I don't know. They had the early chance that hit the bar. Whether they switched off, I think they did a bit, but we picked up. We didn't just accept it. We picked up. We did a bit too much passing around. We weren't direct enough about to really put them under pressure, but the goal we got, we deserved. But it was encouraging. We didn't just say, we'll hold this for 3. Nobody said, go out and win the second half. And we deservedly did so.
Yeah, I thought second half, I think you can tell that Nobby probably had a bit of a go in at half time in the changing room about that first half performance. Second half was much better, wasn't it? And I say Ebbsfleet definitely stepped off it. But we were starting to cause them issues. We started to rile them up. They were not happy. The fans were not happy. And it just shows, doesn't it, that when you go at them, you could create something. And as you said, I think the only disappointment from the second half was we didn't get a second. We had so much of the ball. And I think the problem was we just didn't. I mean, Ebbsfleet were packed in, even with 11 men. But we didn't have someone that could unlock the defence, did we? And I think that again feeds into, do we quite have a creative midfielder that could do that? Probably not at the minute.
And he was in goal, mate.
Yeah, well, that's true. And also, I felt like the goal came from getting to the byline, didn't it, Dave, in the low cross in. But the rest of the game, the fullbacks and the wide players just didn't do that, even after we'd scored from that. So, bit of a shame. Dave's off; he's so bored.
I'm bored.
Yeah, but it was good again to see Shaun score, and it was good to see. I think that what fans appreciated at the end there was just a bit of fight. Because how many times have we gone to Ebbsfleet, rolled over totally, not even scored? It was an improvement. Still a defeat, not great, but Ebbsfleet, it's terrible to go there every year. We always suffer. And it was just to see the boys fight and show a bit of passion that hasn't been there up until Nobby came in.
But to show how much the side was struggling towards the end of Ian's reign, Shaun got, 5 goals in his last 20 games under Ian, and now he's got 6 and 6 under Nobby, which just showed we are creating more, and we're going to get rewards from it eventually.
Absolutely. And I think we always knew that it was going to be a difficult game, didn't we? And the results, not ideal, but we can brush it off and move on. And I think, as I said earlier, it's good that I think Nobby's very open about what went wrong and he'll look to address those issues. But as we said earlier, there's a golfing class, isn't there, between ourselves and those top 2-3 sides at the minute.
Yeah. It may get bigger as the season goes on, but you don't really see us going back down to where we looked to be going earlier in the season. We were 4 points outside the playoffs, 9 points above the relegation zone. You see us hopefully staying roughly where we are.
Yeah, hopefully, but then
with or without the investment, Jake.
Yeah, totally. But I think we've got to aim upwards, though, haven't we? You know, things have improved so much lately. It looks so positive. Sorry, Lee, I can see that you want to say something.
No.
I think things just look so positive at the minute. We've got to aim up the league because I think we've seen the rest of the division is the quality isn't exactly amazing, is it?
This is one I was sort of trying to say prior to the Dartford game. Dartford, yes, everyone was saying they're a good side, and they are a good side, but they're not an Ebbsfleet. Ebbsfleet are an absolutely different entity when they're basically almost a lower League Two side in terms of the names they've got. Dartford, I wasn't really concerned about. I was more concerned about the away game at Ebbsfleet. I mean, we've had bad experiences there. Tavener, being being 1-0 down after 10 seconds or whatever it was. That's just haunts you. But what I would say, Jay, you touched upon it a bit earlier on, mate. We're not going to go past below the levels now, because Nobby demands that bit higher. He demands that higher echelon of success in terms of the teams. And I can't see us now going back down towards the sort of performances that we were handing out at the start of the season. And I think tying this all in, I think it'd be really good to have Nobby appointed sooner rather than later, because we're going to need this investment now. We're going to need a goalkeeper. We might even need another centre-half, but Trolio's going to come in. But again, you're going to need cover for him if he doesn't hit the ground running it again. It's just frustrating. But what I would say, I listened to it on the radio, and it came across extremely well, the fact that we've got a bit of fight about us now. And Tavs, you touched upon it as well, mate. We could have gone 4, 5, 6 down. We've seen it before. Not always at Ebbsfleet, but we've done that. But we've got a bit of character now, and we've got a bit of metal about us, and that's going to hold us in very good stead going forward, boys.
It is. We'll agree with you there, Lee.
Dave was almost speechless. What I would say...
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave, you go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jake. You touched on it there, Lee. Next point, the injuries. We've lost these 2 players from last night. We've got 2 come back. We had Callum at the weekend. We've got 2 more since then. With what's his name, Mackye Townsend-West. He was back in the starting. Well, no, wasn't he? He was on the bench. He had to come on early yesterday, of course. And then Mitchell Weiss, who came off the bench as well. So as soon as we get 2 back, we lose another 2. And this squad, we haven't seen it at full strength, have we, since the start of the season?
No, we haven't at all. I'm not sure if we ever will, the way it's going. I think it was good last night that Mitchell and Mackay could both get minutes in the tank, get minutes playing on the ball again in the team, which was really important. But I'd say I think Clark's going to be a big miss, along with MJ. I know we've talked about Johnson so far, but Clark's looked very good at the back again. Hopefully he's not out for long. But Johnson now, we touched upon it, haven't we? And it's been mentioned that we've now got to try and look for a replacement. If Larice Marcemain is injured, someone's got to look for a replacement. Is that David? Is it the director of football? What do we do? It's a very peculiar situation, isn't it?
Well, one thing we could do for Saturday, ignore the goalkeeper, is push Mackay in alongside Callum Adebayo, and then you could bring Detrolio back in at left back, and that'd be probably the minimum disruption. But that's just one option. He's probably got a few on the table.
Yeah, and he'll also be thinking tactically, won't he? He made those tactical changes against Welling, went to a back 3, and that worked. Will he want to go back to a back 4? There might be something he wants to target in Saturday's game. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's just a bit of a headache for Nobby, isn't it, with these 2 injuries? But he'll be glad to be getting other players back. So yeah, it's not the end of the world. But the Johnson situation is obviously now the sort of time critical one, isn't it?
You mentioned tactics. You might want to comment on this as well, Lee. I was disappointed Saturday, and even more so last night. When we were defending set pieces, we had everybody back again. And you saw it a couple of times last night when Johnson was on the pitch. He had nobody to give it to up front when we were looking for a quick break. So, first of all, we're inviting them to keep coming at us, and we were stopping ourselves from getting away quickly. We did it at Welling, and it worked so well. Why have we suddenly changed back to the way we were before? We don't need that negativity. Make the other team do some thinking. Stop them pushing everybody forward. Push them 2 or 3 men back, and it eases the pressure on us. I know it sounds simple, but it is.
I hear you, mate. I mean, to be fair, the thing is, it just creates more problems because you've got more bodies. If Johnson wasn't such a fantastic claimer of the ball from crosses, I'd be concerned, sure. But the fact is, he is so commanding in those situations. You don't need so many players there. You've got to give him a free run at the ball. I'm not saying, leave 2 up, but leave someone up as that outlet for us, because you know what's going to happen. Put them on the back foot, as you say. We've had situations before when we've had Rusty in goal, who's an excellent shot stopper, but he's not so good in the air because he wasn't that tall. Dino was good in the air, but he wasn't as vocal. Now you've got MJ, who's, in my opinion, the full package. You don't need bodies in there just blocking his path to it. It is a tactic that clubs are going to capitalise on sooner or later. When you've got so many bodies in there, you don't want to give the referee a decision to make. There's arms around there. I mean, ultimately, the keepers will always get the benefit of the doubt in that situation, but don't put him in that situation in the first place. Let's get on the front foot, even when it's their corner.
And another thing on tactics, Jake had noticed it more because he was there last night. Did you feel, Jake, we overplayed from the back with the ball? And we nearly got caught. We didn't get caught, but we nearly got caught a few times. That would have given them a clear run at goal. We overplayed there. We should have got the ball further up the pitch rather than just picking it up from the goalkeeper in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, on a rare occasion, I do agree. I think Ebbsfleet had a really high press, didn't they? And it quite a few times, I said, didn't lead to a direct goal, but it led to a lot of panic at the back. And I think they really pressed around that period where we started conceding goals, and we were just unsettled, weren't we? But as you said, every time that Johnson went long, he pretty much almost every time either found a free man or got the ball up the pitch and got some yards. I think Johnson's distribution is so good. It's unbelievable at times. And yeah, I think that was a bit of an issue last night. And again, that 25-minute spell that Noble talked about in that post-match interview, it was a sense of panic around the ground and the Ebbsfleet fans knowing what was coming. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that, on reflection, I think Noble will sort of thinking, should we have changed that?
What about a sending off? Was it Ben Chapman? Did a foul on Mackye, first of all, so he gets booked for that. By the referee Abigail Byrne, who I thought actually had a very good game. Some of their crowd seemed to disagree, certainly the managers. He got booked on the final whistle. It's 6 minutes after the booking. He then dives in the penalty area. I mean, how stupid is that? Why take the risk? You're trying to win a penalty, yeah, but do it legitimately. And if I was manager, I'd be livid getting sent off for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's very naive, wasn't it? But it wasn't the first time that they'd had a bit of simulation, had they, Ebbsfleet? There was a couple of in the first half where they had a few men go down under challenges that the referee waved away on the edge of the box. As you said, I thought she had a good game, and yeah, it's just a bit naive, wasn't it? And I think it's just a shame that we couldn't capitalise on that extra man for that final 10 minutes. If we'd got a second goal, I think it would have been very interesting, because the ground, even at 3-1, the Ebbsfleet fans were very tense, and there was barely any noise from them. I think they're a bit anxious, but I say naive from him, but then they won. So
Right, Abigail Byrne, referee. One of the linesmen was George Byrne. Yes, is her husband. First time we've had that in one of our games. Right, Nobby then. You keep talking about bringing players in, particularly possibly a goalkeeper for the weekend. If it happens, does that suggest he's got the job for quite a while?
No, because
it's common sense, isn't it? Surely we can't go into the games without a keeper.
And also with the director of football situation, you don't know if it's him making the signings, do you? So I think it's very hard to tell. I think now, as Lee mentioned, now that Nobby has put his name in the frame, even if it's tentatively, it almost feels like a sense of now wait until they do announce it. But yeah, I think at the minute transfers, I don't think they indicate what's going to happen with the managerial position at all.
Transfers on a whole, boys, I think are going to be put on the back burner. But I think with the goalkeeper, you can get away with it, because the goalkeeper is, it's a thing where you can just go for a 7-day approach, get someone in for a month. He hasn't really got to know, the ins and outs of the tactics and the team. It's very easy to sort of pick up from a goalkeeper because his skill set is already there. There's very little training to sort of be had in that aspect. I think once you sort of start getting into the nuances of signing outfield players, are they the perfect fit for the side, blah, 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 that's a whole different conversation. But getting a goalkeeper in, put a 7-day approach in for someone decent, and then away you go.
We'll move on to Saturday then. Dulwich Hamlet at Clarence Park. Of course, it's a centenary of the 8-7 game with them, with Billy Minter. We talked about at the back, possible changes there. Of course, we've got Mitchell Weiss now. Do we start with him? Because we think we see the best of Shaun Jeffers with Mitch playing just behind him or maybe alongside him, whatever, which presumably means Joe Neal will be sacrificed if it happens.
I think it's a balancing act, isn't it? Sort of either keeping a side together that's playing fairly well at the minute, but also bringing in a player that we know could change games, but also tactically, it might spring a bit of a surprise for Dulwich. They might not necessarily expect Mitch to be back in the game, back in the team, and also we talk about distribution. Whoever we bring in, if Masterman can't play, if we go a bit more direct, we know that Mitchell can nod balls down, win them, and will just be a bit more of a problem, I think, for the Dulwich defence. I'd go with Mitch myself. I think you've got to mix up, put it back in. He didn't do a lot last night, but then the ball didn't get to him much. So I think we talked about, haven't we, this season, how important Mitch is to the attack. And if he's fit and ready to go, I think you've got to chuck him in.
Well, last night, Jake, 2 minutes after the sending off, Mitch wanted to take a free kick, and their bloke wouldn't let him have a ball, and he pushed him with both hands. Now, once you've raised your hands, that's a red card. It may have been handbags or whatever. He got away with a yellow card. She was brave not to send him off because the crowd were a bit upset by that. I thought he was going. Did you?
I actually wasn't sure myself because, first of all, I think the theatrics of the man that he pushed. I mean, he went about 10 meters in the air. It was absolutely amazing. It was like an Olympic dive. It was superb. But also, when she went over to speak to her assistant, and the assistant was quite clearly indicating that the push was about here, he went, "It was here." I thought, when I saw that, I was like, I don't think they'll do it. I think that was just her question of, was it above shoulder height? So I think, as you say, it probably is red, but I wasn't too concerned. But it was a lovely bit of handbags that seemed to just wind everyone up. Lee, what do you? I saw you sort of your head expressions. What do you think of chucking Mitch in on Saturday?
I'm concerned about bringing Mitch in to start with, just from the fact he's had so long out. I would question his fitness. I'm not questioning his technique or his talent, but his fitness. And I think that Nobby always wants to sort of try and hit the ground running. I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to be disappointed if he is in, but I think he's going to be more of an impact player coming off the bench on Saturday. Give him some more minutes slowly but surely. The worst thing you want to sort of do, because we've got players who seem to be made out of glass at the minute, and you know, it's a case of, you don't want to push him in and then he sort of pull up after 20, 25 minutes, and then you're back to sort of square one in terms of tactics. I would bring him on as an impact player. And as you said, he's got to get the ball, right? So we need to address the hole which has been vacated by, you know, the likes of Neil. So does he come in? Does he stick with Joe Neal? I think Banton's played an absolute blinder the last month or so since Nobby's come in charge. He's got a bit more freedom now. So it'd be interesting. But I personally would bring Mitch on at the latter stages of the game.
Dulwich, I think they've lost 3 of their last 4. They're out of the relegation places on goal difference. Have they got a new manager yet? They sacked Gavin Rose the other week.
Yeah, it was announced that Paul Barnes was.
Oh, that's
given,
right. Yes.
Yeah, so he was the interim manager. It was announced that he got the full-time job last week.
Yes, similar to Nobby, wasn't it? Really, but they've decided to appoint him fully after not the greatest run of results. I think when they appointed him as interim, I think there's quite a few people surprised at Dulwich because he didn't have the greatest record, did he? And I think he'd been sacked recently from a Step 3 or Step 4 club. So, bold decision by Dulwich, but they seem to be happy with him. And I think it'll be another tough test on Saturday.
They bought a few supporters last year, so it could be a decent atmosphere Saturday. Let's hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then on Tuesday, sorry.
No, I was going to say hopefully, but I was going to say, why do we always have goalkeeper issues when it comes to these Dulwich games?
I think they've got Hampton on Saturday. Of course, we've got Hampton next Tuesday down at the Beverley. We wouldn't settle for a point there now, would we? We want to go for a win, don't we?
Hampton? Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably getting a bit carried away, and we're getting a bit, you know, the fact that we are playing a bit better and we are getting some results now. We always, you know, the expectations grow and grow from each game. And even the game on Tuesday, there were some positives that sounds as though it could be they sort of taken out of the game. You've got Dulwich, you've got looking for 3 points there. If we get the 3 points there, we're going on to Hampton. And, you know, it escalates, the expectancy escalates as you go, because we're St Albans City and we should be winning games of football and playing well in the process. Football doesn't go like that, does it? Hampton has always been a bit of a banana skin for us. I wouldn't say we play our best football there, fellas, by any stretch. But you know what, mate? we could go into this looking at 6 points, and it would be wrong of me to suggest that we couldn't get it.
Yeah, they're not playing each other Saturday. It's the following Saturday they're playing. They've won their last 2 games, Hampton, haven't conceded a goal. So after a dodgy start, they're starting to put it together. They've missed out on the FA Cup first round, lost a replay at home to Torquay. But it does seem like things are picking up for them a bit. We just have to bring it to an end, won't we?
I think they would have been they missed out on Derby County at home, didn't they? Which would have been, I think, quite gutted to miss out on that. But I think we've got to be positive, haven't we? I think Nobby will be. I think he'll be looking for exactly the same style of football that we've been playing. I think out of these 2 games, I suspect the Hampton game will probably be the tougher of the 2. But we've got to, I mean, Nobby will be targeting 4 to 6 points, won't he, in these next 2? And why not, with the way we're playing at the minute and how much we just look improved?
Isn't this refreshing, boys? We're being positive on the podcast without even being asked to. It's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. Let's crack on.
Derby County. Derby County, the old baseball ground. It's the only match I've ever been to where we've been pelted by little bits of concrete. I was with a mate of mine who's a Watford fan. We didn't have a game that day. And
in that case, they probably deserved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd have asked them to throw it. Anyway, right. Let's have some predictions. Saturday first, Dulwich Hamlet. Lee, while you're on screen there.
3-1.
Oh.
Okay.
Match that'll beat that, Jake.
I'll go 1-0 Saints.
And Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a cheeky little 1-0 to the Mighty Saints, actually.
Interesting.
I'll
go 2-2.
2-2. Oh, I was waiting for a 2-1.
No, I know you were. I've been
how did
told
we get
by...
on? How did we get on in the predictions last week, Tavs?
Oh, usually suspect, doesn't it? I haven't had a look yet. Can't remember what you said. It's written down somewhere.
I think Lee may have got one right, I've heard. From a few people have told me.
I suspected that's why I mentioned it.
Funny that.
I was in that book somewhere. I don't know. Well done, Lee. That puts you ahead this season.
What do I win?
A night out with Jake.
That's not a victory, mate, in my eyes, I have to say. But anyway.
that's more of a community service.
Right. Jake's gradually disappearing in the darkness there, just like Will's gradually
disappearing. Put your lights on,
Ellacott.
What's the matter with you, mate?
Energy prices, can't afford them. Oh, dearie me.
Right.
So
on that
on that wonderful note, if you've got anything you want to say or share with us, send us an email or a tweet at Podful Saints. Thank you as always for all the amazing views, and I think from us it'll be very much see you next week, wouldn't it?
See you at Clarence Park on Saturday.
Everyone. Bye bye.
Take care.